You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. This is episode 236, and we have a treat tonight because we have Luke Costilow from Costilow Decoys. He's joined us. We'll get into how Luke and I got connected in a little bit, but and I'll do an introduction with Luke here shortly. But once again, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors of Real Geese, First Light, and Ducklander Calls, who without them we wouldn't be able to do this show. And of course, the voice of the Union 0430 podcast, Captain Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl in Maryland, USA. Welcome, Luke Costilow from Costilow Decoys, all the way from Ohio. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on.
No, this is awesome. You know, it's this social media world is pretty crazy because I was following you. Your page came across my feed. I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. I took a couple lessons from a local guy, Brian Swain is his name, on decoy carving. And Brian is an amazing carver. I just didn't have any nerve. There's a point. Anyways, we'll get into that. But because I started looking at decoy carvers and that I was focusing on that for a little bit, you popped up. So then I was following you. And then, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, we did the show with Tyler from Duck Creek Decoys, and then he mentions you. So then, yeah, it just all comes around. So it's pretty cool. It's a small world, really, when you think about it. So yeah, like I said, welcome to the show. It's a pretty relaxed show. If you haven't watched us before, and anything goes. Usually my two buddies, Phil and Craig, are on with me. Craig's got a pretty bad headache tonight. And Phil
Poor
is Phil is working. He's out solving crime. So unluckily for you, you're stuck with just me tonight, buddy.
That's okay.
All right.
That's okay.
So really, when it comes to my introduction for you, I really wanted to, I'm just going to say it came off your social media page, like third generation champion carver, duck hunter, and the owner of Coffee Creek, Cork, which we're going to get into a little bit about that because I do know a buddy of mine a couple of years ago was trying to do a rig, like a hunting rig for himself. And he done it at a Cork. And I think he had some problems trying to source cork and stuff like that. So,
yep.
Especially for fellas that are interested in that, we'll definitely dive into the cork business side of things. But you're just getting back from DUX down in Memphis. Like, I think you messaged me yesterday. Like, you just got back the night before last, eh?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So I was down there with Duck Creek Decoy Works. So okay. I was there at their booth for 3 days.
And how did that relationship come about?
It's just through social media. Just seems like how everything else works these days. So yeah, Tyler and I just kind of had mutual friends, and he just reached out looking for ideas on new paint schemes for the Flashback Decoys. Right. So he flew me out to Colorado, and we hunted together for a few days last January, and talked about some new paint schemes and other ways we could work together. And it just kind of worked out that he liked my work, and I did new paint schemes on the pair mallards, the black duck, and the pintail. And then I've kind of come on and helped him out with a couple other things. And it's just kind of just an ever evolving project together.
That's pretty cool. Eh? Like that gotta make you feel pretty good when a guy will say, hey, listen, I'm going to fly you out. And the ultimate test is, we're gonna hunt together. And if I can hang out with you, if I like you in a duck blind, then that means we can work together. That I like that. I really do.
Oh yeah. He has like this, he calls it his meth lab, but he has like this little hunting camp on this property he has out in Colorado. And
Yeah.
I never met him before, and he never met me before. And he picked me up I flew out there, and then he picked me up at the airport, and then we slept next to each other, 2 different beds, obviously, but slept next to each other in this little shack, and and for a couple days, and hunted together and got to know each other. And yeah, it's always fun.
But
never know what to expect.
Well, you never know what to expect, and you never know what opportunity is going to fall in your lap, especially these days, right? Because I don't know a lot about Tyler and Tyler's business and stuff, but he's still a small business owner, right? And you never know what the next day is going to bring, what opportunity is going to fall into your lap. And sometimes you just gotta take that leap of faith, right? And go, hey, I like this guy, Luke. On the surface, I like him, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to fly him out. We're going to hunt together for a couple days, and then I'll decide. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man, that got to make you feel pretty good when a guy does that. And especially when this is something, the decoy carving and the painting and that sort of thing, when your hobby or your job, whatever it is, when somebody else appreciates it and then they want to pay you, that's got to be a huge feather in the hat, right? Like it just got to give you the confidence to keep going.
It's nice. Yeah. So I have transferred over into carving full time. So I've been carving full time for over about a year now. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of, like you said, just like capitalizing on all these, just either invitations or whatnot, people asking about my work or, trying to figure out things like that. And I just kind of go with it. It's like, it's not worth saying no to people, and you just kind of go and try stuff out, and it's led to a lot of cool things.
Yeah, like and I think that's the important thing, right? You keep an open mind, and if it makes sense for you, then yeah, you jump in at it and you give it a try. And like the flashback, like I've got it. I've taken it over in my little watering hole there, and I took a couple videos and done some posts, but I can't wait to put this, like, to use it during a hunt. Like, I really can't wait. And the color scheme is, it's bang on. It looks great. Mm-hmm. The decoy looks amazing. And I've looked at, since Tyler's been on, I've looked at some other ones, and I'm not going to say names or nothing like that, but I've looked at some other things, and I've looked at the motion and not so much the look of the decoy. I wasn't so much concerned about that. I was more concerned about the motion it created and how it did its thing, right? And I gotta say that it just looks as close to natural as what you're going to get. And that's what I feel. Now, I'm obviously a little bit biased because I have one now, and I can't wait to try it. But I don't know, man. It looks like it's going to be a great tool for me in an area where nobody is using anything like this.
Yeah. So I was a user of them before I started doing some work for them.
Okay, cool.
And I'm a big believer in them. To give them a little bit of a plug. So a couple of the improvements that they made this year was one of the biggest gripes I had of it was it's a little noisy. At least it used to be. It used to be a little noisy, and anybody who's used them before now know what I'm talking about. There was like a little bit of a whine of the motor, and then when it would clutch on itself, it'd kind of make a pop, which the ducks don't care. But if you're sitting there in the blind, it kind of gets to you,
Yep.
But he has fixed that. So like now, so like the new ones this year are much, much quieter, and and they look nicer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man. Like it looks great. I've showed it to. I've had a few buddies that have come here to I call it the studio now, but it's really just my garage. But I've had a few buddies come in now, and it's in the bag, like the decoy, the Duck Creek Decoy Works holder, the bag for it, and he's like, "What's that you got there?" And then I pull it out, and I tell you what, fellas are mostly impressed with, the fellas that I'm showing it to, is how easy it is to attach it to its battery, and fellas are saying, like, I can wear gloves and hook this up. And I'm like, yeah, that's like, you don't have to take your gloves off. Like, up here, we'll still hunt here in December on some big water, much like you, right? You're in Ohio. We're on the same, I'm not that far from you, really. So we're hunting the same climate. So on some bigger water in December, we're still out there. And when you got those gauntlet mitts on, or those gloves, the last thing you want to do is taking them off and putting them in water, and taking your gloves off and bare hands going in the water and stuff like that. And you can hook this thing up with gloves on, and I think is brilliant. It's a simple. I'm a big fan of the KISS rule, and I really do like the decoy. So I can't wait, buddy. I can't wait to get using it, and then I can say, when people ask me about it, I can say that you done the paint scheme on it, which is cool, because for me to be able to, you're out in the blind, and there's some things that is just always repetitive that you talk about, right? You're always talking politics. You're always talking about what's in the news and stuff like that. But then when you can tell a story and say, well, I met these guys, they came on the show, they sent me a decoy, then I met Luke does the paint job for them, and it makes for a great conversation when you're sitting in the blind with some fellas that really don't know, right? They see the product, and then when you can give them a little bit of history on it, it just makes the conversation and time go by a little bit faster.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So we'll stop on the flashback right now. I want to get back into the decoy carving, because like I started to talk about when I was doing the introduction. So I took a couple lessons from Brian Swain, and a great carver. He does a great job. But I got to the point where I was, and I was using basswood. I wasn't using cork. I got to the point where I was now too scared to do anything without Brian over my shoulder looking at me and telling me what to do, right? I got back to my garage, and I pulled out the drawn knife and everything, and I'm just like, I'm going to screw this up. I know I am. And this is the only piece of basswood I have, right? You know what I mean? And so my biggest question for you, and I think I know the answer, because you do, I guess I got to add this, you do provide lessons. Like, people can come into your shop and you'll teach them how to carve and stuff like that. My biggest question is, do you have to be an artistic mind? Like, are you like a drawer, a painter, a carver? Like, do you have to have those skills in order to do the decoy carving?
No. No. And it just kind of depends on why you're carving. So if you are simply carving and painting because you want to connect yourself more to the hunting, and you solely want to kill birds over your decoys, it doesn't really take much.
Right.
You could take a block and round off the edges and paint it black, and you'll probably kill birds over it.
Right.
But, if you're somebody like me who started off in the competition world, and that's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down.
Oh yeah.
But in the competition world, then then there's a little bit more skill and practice and things like that come into play, because there's a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. And
right.
Whereas if you're just carving just to carve, and you're carving because you're having fun with it, there really isn't a wrong way. You'll eventually get to something, and then that something will be fine. And a usable tool. And
I think that's, like, I'm sure there's a bunch of fellas and ladies out there that, the competition side of thing is really appealing to them, right? Because that's when you just perfect your skill, and it goes beyond just the paint, the carving, the painting, and setting the I guess the environment to make it look, you know, that I've seen some competitions, you know, with the cattails in the back and the decoys on water and the whole bit, right? But for me, and I've got a couple friends that have done it, for me to be able to say that the 6 decoys that I'm hunting over, that I put out, that I did it and got to hunt over them and dispatch a bird, that's got to be a crazy good feeling to be able to say that. Like, I've never done it, but I want to do it.
It's very, very rewarding.
Right.
So like looking back at the trajectory of like my career and what I did. So like, you know, I started carving when I was like 9 or 10. So
Wow.
my dad was a full-time carver and taxidermist when I was born and growing up. So
Okay.
like, you know, so I had dad shop in the backyard, and I always had the interest in doing it. So it's like I started at 9. Carved my first decoy when I was 10. It was a little bufflehead, and you know, dad was really involved in the competition circuit, so that's what I wanted to do. So so I entered my first decoy in a couple contests, and I did good. I won like a world championship in the youth division, and you know, so I was hooked. Then the next year, I carved another one. Then I carved another one, and then essentially, as I went through like middle school, high school, college, carving was all I did. I didn't do any sports or anything like that. And I just put all of my effort into the competition carving.
Yep.
And all said and done, kind of on the, because my career has sort of shifted into more of doing things for clients, or doing things for hunting for myself. But you know, when it comes to the competition stuff, I've won 9 best of shows at the World Championships, and a couple other national titles, and lots of other best of shows.
Wow. So, and this is where I talk about it on this show, how small the world is, because I'm going to drop a name right now, and I'd be very surprised if you don't know him. Jeff Crete, who I'm sure, right? So I met Jeff. We were doing some discussions earlier this year on some carving things and stuff, and I know Jeff's nephews and his brother. So he was the last of the Cretes that I had to meet, really. And I look at him and a big competition guy, and he's making decoys for some big brands and stuff like that. But again, I remember him telling me, because I had no idea, and I think it's Ohio, where there's the major, like, it's a huge decoy competition, and I think that's in March sometime, right?
Yep, the third weekend in March. It's the Ohio Decoy Carvers and Collectors Association show,
and it's huge, right? Like, everybody from everywhere is coming to that one, because I know Jeff, like, we were talking about doing something. He was like, absolutely cannot make it. I am going to be in Ohio. There is no way I can miss the Ohio show and the whole bit, right? So it's really interesting to see it, and to go back to this, you know, outside of the competition side of things, right? I just think that there's a group of people out there that really want to be able to say, I carved these. Are they perfect? No. But they're mine. I did it. I did it on my own, and I've killed birds over them. And I think there's a huge group of people that want to be able to say that, myself included.
Oh yeah, and so like competitions have been slowly, and I think it's a little controversial to say because people don't like to say it out loud, but they haven't been doing very well. You know,
right.
It's like the 70s, 80s, 90s were like the heyday of competitions, and
right.
You know, so then like when I started them in like 2004, like I kind of missed like the good old days of, you know, of competitions, and it's just been going slowly downhill ever since. But what I have been finding out, and there are some younger guys who are getting into it in the competition space and stuff, but what I have been finding out through Instagram and, you know, doing Costilow Decoys on there, is that there's a lot of people getting into it now, and a lot of younger people. And I guess when I've been younger people, I mean kind of my age, you know, like mid, like 30s.
Yep.
And, you know, they don't care about competitions. They don't care about the notoriety of it. They're just solely doing it because they just want to kill birds over it.
Yeah.
And what's cool about carving for hunting is like you can put your own style to it, your own twist to it, and you can essentially do whatever you want. And there's really no wrong way of doing it.
That's crazy.
And odds are it'll work. And
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's just true. It's like true functional art. And it's just amazing.
It is. And and listen, I'll be the first one. I've got so many decoys hanging. And when you're buying decoys, you look at them, you're looking at the paint and you're looking at the textures and you're looking at, how close does this look to a real duck. And then when you get into guys like yourself who are carvers, and then the big brands will commission you to say, hey, I need you to carve me this, and it's got to be as close to anatomically correct as possible. But yet history has shown us that our ancestors and in the 30s and 40s, like what they killed birds over was far from perfect, was far from anatomically correct, and they still did it. And each area, this is the part that I really love, and I haven't studied it enough to be an expert, but each area had their own specific style of decoy, which is what blows my mind. Like if you look at the Eastern Seaboard and then you look at Mississippi, and it's just everything is so different. Like you said, you can add your own spin to it, and that's what these people did. They added their own spin to it, to what they thought worked best in their area, and it just I don't know, man, it looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, because like it was necessity, right? You
Right.
couldn't just go to the Cabela's and buy a dozen decoys. So it's like, depending on where you were hunting, what time of year, or what water you were in. If you were hunting the Great Lakes, then you needed a wide decoy that had a flat bottom that you could easily put on long lines. So that's kind of ended up being like the Great Lakes style, is like these flat bottoms, wide decoys. But if you go to like Jersey, a lot of like New Jersey birds will have very rounded bottoms. Now, I'm not a decoy historian. I don't know why they did that, but it's like you said, just depending on where you go.
Yep.
People carve decoys specifically for the how they were using them.
I want to go touch on what you said, where you're starting to see younger people getting back into it, and I think we can apply that to a whole of everything in the hunting world, and the whole bit is that it seems like things are dropping off over the last decade, probably, or two. We've started to see attendance at outdoor shows drop. Duck stamp sales are going down, whatever it is. And it was because the young people weren't doing it. But I think we're on the precipice now of those same people. I think they're looking for something a little more in life, right? They want to be, at first, they didn't want to be carving, and they didn't want to be hunting, and they didn't want to be building their own stuff. They were content on getting somebody to do it for them, or pay somebody. But I honestly think that it's starting to come around now. And I think brands like your own, being on social media and being a voice and showing that, hey, listen, this isn't as difficult as what you think it is. You just need someone to point you in the right direction. I think that's why you're seeing it starting to grow these days, as opposed to what it was, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And what I like about carving to hunt, it's sort of what I have found for myself anyway. I find that it lowers the bar for what you consider a successful hunt. So it's like, I consider myself very lucky. I've done a lot of trips. I've done a lot of things, and I've had a lot of really good hunts, and I've killed a lot of birds. But if you're carving decoys specifically for a hunt, and you put in that effort to carve that mallard, to go hunt over that decoy, and you kill one mallard over that,
that's a success.
It was success.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a success, and it's a picture. And that's that's what we're looking for. That's great.
Great point. Like it really is, because now, and however it is you manage, or however it is you measure your success on a hunt, but if it's coming back with a full strap, well, if you carved your own decoys and you shoot one green head over it, that's a success. You don't care if it's a full strap, as long as you got one and you can get that picture of your, the bird you shot in one hand and the decoy that you carved in the other. I think that's a pretty special picture, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, because you had so much more involved in that hunt than just like that day or the scouting the day before. You have like hours of prep, in like that decoy, doing the absolute best you can.
Yeah.
And then you put it out there and it's floating, and then it works, and it's just amazing.
I say it a lot, where I say duck hunting, goose hunting is one of the most social hunts that you can do, right? Because you're there with your buddies, you can talk, you can smoke a cigar, you can laugh. When the birds are coming, you shut up, you hide away, and the whole bit. But then there's that side of it, and then there's the side, and I don't know anything about any other hunting pursuit, right? I don't hunt deer. I pick away at turkey, and I've done some moose hunting. But I don't think there's a pursuit out there where the hunter has such an intimate relationship with the game that they're chasing as a waterfowl hunter, right? Because by nature, we are a very resourceful group of hunters, right? Like, we carve our decoys. Not everybody, but you know what I mean? We're making our calls, we make our decoys, we're making our hides. All of those things just adds to the intimacy of the hunt, right? And when you combine all that, and then you can say, well, I carved this myself, or this was my duck call that I made. I don't know, man, that's pretty special.
It's super special. I mean, that's a big thing that drives it for me, and especially to have my dad, and the relationship that I have with him. So like at Coffee Creek. So Coffee Creek is our private duck hunting property that we own and built and managed. So just like adding another layer to that, it's like we've built our wetlands. We manage our wetlands during the summer. We carve our own decoys, and then we sit in the blind that we built in the marsh that we built over the decoys that we carved. And it's just me and my dad, and it's nice. It's just, and when you have a great day, it's incredible. But of course, when you have a bad day, it's never the weather. It's everything we did was wrong. Literally everything since like April 1st, when we started working on the place. I was like, we screwed up. Everything we did was wrong. But but when it works, it's amazing.
Yeah, dude, I'm not telling you what to do, but I hope you guys are keeping like a log, a history of pictures. This is what it started out with. This is blind one, and the whole, because down the road, what an incredible memory that to be. Like, if that could get put to like a coffee table book or something like that, like what an incredible memory that would be, to be able to look back at, when your children are out in the blind or whatever, right? Like your dad, your children, like, I'm jealous when you get, and you told me about your property, when we were chatting last month and stuff like that. And I'm just, to do it with your dad, it's got to be pretty special. Me and my dad had a pretty close relationship. We didn't live close to one another. I live at a province now and moved away and joined the military. But when my dad was alive, we talked every day, like honestly, like every day. The only time we didn't talk is if I was out of the country, deployed or something like that. So I really appreciate the closeness and the relationship that you and your dad have, and to be able to share that with your dad, like the highs and the lows, right? Like the days when it doesn't work and you're because someone is going, it's either you or your dad, one of you.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
Yes, because I know if it was me and my dad, I'd be like, first thing I'd be like, see, I told you we shouldn't have done it this way. But for you, it's opposite.
Yeah, it's my fault.
That's awesome, buddy. And I'm jealous because that's got to be pretty special to be able to share. And then, the wetlands and the blind and stuff, but then you and your dad have created the business side of things with Coffee Creek Cork, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So which is really cool because, like I said, I think that I don't know a lot about it, but I think cork isn't something that you can just go anywhere and purchase. Like, I think there's a bit of a process to getting it, right? So now, you're turning yourself into a one-stop shop, really, because, you can come to your shop, you can take the lessons, and you can buy your cork, and on your website, it even says, well, cutouts and that stuff. That's coming soon. It's not there yet, but, talk us through. I guess my biggest question would be, why cork over wood?
So what I like about cork, so we sell high density tan cork. So it's really dense. So it's not like black cork. When some people think of cork, it might be like the black cork, and black cork has like really big chunks in it. And it's like what life jackets used to be made out of in like World War II kind of like stuff. But this is like high density tan. And just what's nice about it is it doesn't take a lot of effort to make a decoy. If you wanted to make a really simple decoy, you could draw knife the body, rasp it, and sandpaper, and you're good. But then also, like the type of stuff that I like to do with it, it's also dense enough and there's enough binders in it and stuff where I'm able to carve in side pockets, or you can carve in primaries and carve in other feather groups, and it all still stays together and it's very firm. So what I find nice about it, it's perfect for beginners, but it's also not necessarily like just for beginners, because I've been carving for 20 plus years and that's all I've ever used. And then like my classes, so like just 2 weeks ago I taught a mallard class, and we were carving cork mallards. So it was cork bodies with Tupelo heads, and the one guy, it was his very first decoy. And then this other guy, he's been carving for like 45 years, and everybody just carved cork. Yeah, it worked out great.
So when you say you held a mallard class or a class for carving a mallard, so what's the process? So to carve one single decoy in your class, can that be done in one class in one day?
No. So step by step of the classes. So so at Coffee Creek, right? So that's where all of my classes take place. So this is something that I'm slowly getting into. So I've taught classes in the past, and I do some one-on-one stuff. But last year I did my first official class at Coffee Creek. And so Coffee Creek Marsh, just for a little bit of background, it's a 500-acre property that my family and I built, and it's our duck hunting property. We have a nice lodge on site. And then we have a carving shop that we built a while ago that we used to carve in for fun, or I'd have friends coming in from out of town and we'd carve there. So I've been treating Coffee Creek sort of as like this all-inclusive, decoy carving retreat, where it's like you come for 4 days. You usually come on a Thursday, and we'll carve all day Thursday and Friday, and usually you're painting by Saturday morning. And then we're done by Sunday afternoon. And essentially, my wife, she'll be around, and she's a great cook. She'll cook. My friend John Wallace, who is the wild game cook on Instagram, he's a private chef. I have him coming in now for like 3 days, and so he's have a private chef cooking all your food, and then we're just carving and then hanging out in the evenings.
Oh my God!
And then so you start off with a block. And then on Thursday, and then come Sunday, you're floating your decoy. We'll self-right the decoy, right? So it's like you put the decoy in upside down, and then it flips over, and then you watch it float, and everybody high fives, and you go home.
Oh my goodness, I want to do this so bad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh man, it's fun. That sounds like I want to do it so bad. I'm gonna get together a crew of dudes. We're gonna come down for 4 days, and we're gonna do that.
And what I like about it too, it's like I keep the classes small. It's a very intimate thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I do 4 people right now. I think we're going to expand the shop and try and do up to 6. But
Okay.
four is kind of nice. And so I kept it small this year. I only did 3 classes. I did one in June, July, and August.
Yep.
So my dad and I are teaching a Drake Gadwall class together here next weekend.
Okay.
But it's what's cool about it. It's like it'll be me and then like 4 people from like all corners of the country. No one knows anybody, and everybody just shows up, and then you're just kind of there. And then by like the end of it, everybody's like Facebook friends, and everybody's like, you're just talking ducks and carving and eating and stuff. And we try and keep the meals wild game. So like, we'll cook a couple duck meals and a couple deer meals, and Teresa will be making fresh breads the whole time.
Man, that is so cool. And like, that's a relationship that'll go forever, right? Because, as your carving journey continues, you're going to run into problems, right? You're going to run into, hey, how do I do this? Or how does this look, fellas? Like, I'm trying to put those side pockets in of the wings and all this stuff. And I'm trying to do this. How, like, that's going to be their sounding board now. That's immediately the first people they're going to reach out to when they're looking for advice is the people that they learn to carve with, right?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that is such a cool idea. The fact that, yeah, go for it.
No, yeah, and I've had a couple people come back for multiples of them now, and I'm a working decoy carver. So when it comes to working decoys, it's more of like the simpler side of things.
Right.
Well, here, let me grab one. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like the simpler side of things. There's like a Drake Mallard I did a while ago. Wonderful lighting, as you can tell, but it's just a simpler, like, I'm not carving in any like intricate feathers in the back. It's just kind of the simple and big faded groups.
Right.
What's nice about it is in these working decoy classes, there are so many places where you can set your paintbrushes down and be done, and that decoy is done, or you can move to the next step. So it's like I'll have a place in mind where I would like to take the decoy to. But when it comes to working decoys, as long as it's base coated, right? Like, there's a lot of shading on the head. You can't really tell. There's a lot of shading on the head. Technically, you could paint it green, and if you're happy with that, you could be happy with that. So like I did a hen redhead class in June. And I had a stopping point in mind, and everybody ended up stopping at different points. So like by the time we were done, the one guy who had never carved a working decoy before, he was a decorative carver, so he was only ever used to carving in every single feather, and he would wood burn in every quill, and do every little barbule and all that stuff. So he wanted to make something truly simple because he's never done that before. So like we got to the point where it was pretty much like step 1 of the painting process, where everything was just like base coated, and he did a little bit of dry brushing and some feather lines, and he was done. He was like, I'm happy with this. This is cool.
I'm happy with it.
And then the next guy stopped at the next step, and then the next guy stopped at the next step. So by the time we were done, all 4 of our decoys were completely different, but they were all like perfect working birds, like all on their own steps.
That's
cool. It's not stressful. It's nice.
And and that just plays on what you said, where everyone adds their own touch to it, right? Or lack thereof. Like, they get to a point, this is what I'm happy with. This is, I'm good with this. I don't need to go anymore. I'm happy. Mm-hmm. And that one's put to the side. Now they get to move on to the next. Oh, dude, that sounds, oh yeah, we're going to, we got to do we're going to do a plug for this. And hopefully hopefully we can drum up some business for you, but I'm going to try and get a crew of fellas, because I think it'd be a great time to just, your friends, right? Like, instead of, like, I know where you're saying you could have 4 people and they're coming from all different corners of the country, the continent. That's cool. That's very cool. But what a cool little thing to do with your hunt group, like your team of hunters that you go out with. What a cool event to start the season with, or something, right? Where, hey, listen, we're just going for 4 days, taking a break, just getting away from everything, and we're just going to learn how to carve decoys. Fuck, that's awesome, dude.
It's pretty sweet. I don't have a schedule for next year yet.
Right. Yeah.
It's just for everybody. I don't have a schedule for next year yet. My hope is to do 6 to 8 classes next year.
Wow.
But when it comes to like someone like you who's like, hey, I have 3 friends who want to do this, then you could totally reach out and be like, hey, I have my own group. Can we do it some other time? So even though I'm going to have this schedule, I'm very much open to other groups coming in.
Oh, that's cool, dude. I really do think, like, I think that it's something that's, I knew you did the classes, but I didn't realize that it was all inclusive, right? Where you're staying on site, you're being fed, you know, the whole gambit, right? Like, I'm the type of guy where I like to remove all thinking out of stuff, especially if I'm going somewhere where I've never been before. I like to be able to say, okay, I'll pay you X number of dollars. I don't want to think. You're going to do your plan and everything. You're doing everything for me. I literally just got to get myself there, hand over X number of dollars to you, and then you and your team take care of everything. And I love, especially when I'm going somewhere that I've never been before, I love doing stuff like that. So,
it's nice. I mean, so bad. You start your day, you wake up, you come down from the loft and the coffee's ready, and you get your coffee cup and you sit out on the porch and you look across the marsh and you watch it wake up, and then we go out in the shop, and then come 1 o'clock, my wife comes out and she's like, lunch is ready. And then we're like,
dude.
All right.
Man, that is, as a, I don't know. I don't even know how I categorize myself anymore, if I'm a small business or what, but I'm always blown away when people can come up with an idea, and a good idea, and it generates some money, but it becomes an experience, right? Because you're not just getting, in my mind, like when I listen to you talk about this isn't just, well, you're coming and you're going to walk away with a mallard decoy. There's an experience. Like you said, you wake up, you come down, you get your coffee, you sit on the porch, you watch the marsh come alive. Okay, now it's time to go to work. You have some laughs, you screw something up, you got to go fix it. You got to, Luke, I think I screwed something up. You come over, you fix it, then you go for lunch, you have a laugh. Like, I just, it's an experience, right? It's not just, you're not just getting a product, you're getting an experience. And that's the thing that really, really makes it seem cool to me. And why I want to do, I really want to do it. I got to find, I know Craig and Phil would come. I just got to, we just got to work out a date.
I've been blown away by the response I've gotten from doing stuff like this. And I have guys reaching out to me, and they're like, let me know when next year's schedule comes out. This is literally a bucket list thing that I've wanted to do my entire life. And I just think that's so cool that I can help people achieve that. And what I'm offering can be like a bucket list thing. It's kind of, it's very humbling. I don't take it lightly. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, it is. And especially, when you have fellas that are saying things like, it's a bucket list, like I've always wanted to do it. Like when I done it, like, and I only took a couple classes, right? And then I chickened out and the rest of it. But like, it was, you do 2 hours and then you'd leave, and then it was a week before you come back to your next class, right? But this is like, you're there, you're into it. So when you get your groove and you start to, because that's my problem when it comes to the carving, is that I know what the end product is supposed to look like, but when I'm shaving and I'm coming around and I'm doing what I call the shoulder of the duck, but when I'm coming around that front, like, I can't picture what it should look like as I'm carving, and I tend to take too much. What ended up happening, I was taking too much off with my gouge, right?
Yeah.
So, dude,
and that's the biggest problem that everybody has when they start, and it's not really something you can teach right off the bat,
right?
Because like it's almost like you're walking through a cornfield and I'm like yelling at you on the other side, like, keep on going straight, and then you'll eventually come out the other side, and then you get to where you're going, and then you see it. But it's
Yeah.
like until you do that a couple times, then then you know where you're going. And usually it's a fear. Usually when people start, it's a fear of taking too much off.
Yeah.
So then people don't take enough out. And I think it's funny because like there's no flat spots on a duck, right?
That's right.
And people have lots of problems where they're trying to round and trying to get rid of flat spots. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I screwed up. I took too much off. But when the problem is you haven't taken enough out, and it's like, oh, he's got to pinch it here a little bit more, and then you could round it a little bit, and then just in a couple little steps, then it's totally fixed. But it's like when it comes to beginner carving, I know it's easy for me to say like, oh, it's easy, but like it's just steps,
right?
You know, it's like, and what's nice, if let's say you come and take one class from me and you carve a Drake Mallard, the steps that I take you through of carving that duck is going to be essentially the same, and you can replicate those steps across all hundreds of species across the world.
Right.
It's just the profile changes, or the bill length changes, or the side pocket's different, or the tail's up or the tail's down. But like the process is the same. Now, my process is the same, but there's a billion ways of doing it. Just because it's my way doesn't mean it's the correct way. It is, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it is.
No, but that's the cool thing about it, because what your process is may not be the same as, say, Jeff Creet's process or Pat Godden's process or any of these guys, right? Mm-hmm. That's the because it's art. Like, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, it is art, right? It's art in its purest form. Mm-hmm. Instead of Michelangelo using clay or whatever it was he used, you're using cork, and you're still it's your perception of that piece, right? That's the beauty about it. That's pretty deep for this show. I can't believe I pulled that out, but
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad, eh? The sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. But no, it's really cool. So the one thing I wanted to I did want to ask you this, because we're about 10 minutes away, but I wanted to ask you this. So when I look at the cork, because I know this is what we did with the basswood. Mm-hmm. So with the cork, so when I look on your website, and I forget what the dimensions are, but you're gluing two pieces of cork together, right? That's the process, or are you
sometimes?
Okay.
It depends. So depending on what decoy you're carving.
Okay.
So a 4-inch piece, 4-inch thick, can take you a long way.
Really?
Yeah. So like 4 inches is just about every diver. Like a canvas back is a 4-inch body. Bluebill is a 4-inch body. A redhead is a 4-inch tall body. You can squeeze a mallard onto a 4-inch body and it would totally be fine. Now, if you're doing that and you're keeping it, you're not hollowing it out, then it's just a solid cork body. Now, if you have a mallard and you want that pattern to be a little taller, now I do sell like 4.5-inch thick pieces, which just about any duck, a goose wouldn't fit, or whatever, a swan wouldn't fit, but a 4.5-inch piece, just about any duck would fit on that. But what you can do is you can add like a 1-inch bottom board to, let's say, a 4-inch piece or a 4.5-inch piece, depending on how tall you want it to be. And I just use a cork bottom board. Cork goes right through a planer nice. You can cut a 1-inch thing and run it through a planer, and so with what that 1-inch riser bottom board does is now you're able to hollow the inside of the main decoy and really lighten it up, and then you glue that bottom board on the bottom. So it's just depending on the size of your duck and how light you want it to be, that if it doesn't have to be 2 pieces.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I had never heard of this until last year when I was out west guiding, and the guy I was guiding with, he had one. And I know you just finished one, and that is the decoy urn. And that is such a cool idea, and something that I know I'm going to do. Personally, but how popular, and I don't know if that's is that heartless to say that it's a popular item because, you know, your best friend just, you know what I mean?
It's a hard line to walk because I practically feed my family on decoy urns.
Right.
So I make a lot of them and I sell a lot of them.
Okay.
So what's truly beautiful about the urn, right? And we're talking about like retriever, you know, dog urns. My uncle is in a couple of my great uncle was a carver, and when he passed away, we put some of his ashes in some of his decoys. So there are people in decoys as well, but the main thing is the retrievers. But and there's 2 ways you can go about it. So it's like you can fit all of the ashes into a decoy, but then it's too heavy, right? So it's like if you put all the ashes into a decoy, then a decoy weighs like 5 pounds, and it's like technically it could float still, but it's not very good. So you can either have a decoy urn for the shelf, or you can have a working decoy urn, and the working decoy urn are the most popular,
of course.
And the way that I do that is either people will give me empty shotgun hulls that they save from like a special hunt. Or it's like I did a sidebar here. I did an urn rig for a guy where I carved 3 decoys for him, and it was for their retriever that passed away. And they had the hulls from the last hunt they had with the dog, and like his young kids were on that hunt with him. And I met up with all of them to get the ashes and the shells, and like the kids wrote little notes to the dog, like on the shotgun shells, and like we're all crying as I'm taking the ashes and the shells and all this stuff.
Dude, I got goosebumps here.
And it's a very, I've had many phone calls with grown men, strangers that I don't know, who are crying, talking to me. And it's a surreal, very humbling thing that I don't take lightly doing these urn orders. But it's, and what these working decoy urns do for you is you're able to continue the hunt over or hunt with your retriever. And essentially what I do is I'll take a shotgun shell and I'll put the ashes, I'll fill up the shell with ashes, and I'll cap it with epoxy. And then I'll insert like 2 shotgun shells worth in the bottom of the decoy. Okay. And then so like when you roll the decoy over, then like the brass is like flush with the bottom, and you can still see the brass of the shell. Yeah.
That's cool.
And then like I'll put a nice like white oak keel on the bottom of the decoy, and then there'll be like a metal plate with like the dog's name or birthday, death date, or names or whatever.
That's super cool. And it's such a personal thing too, though, right? Like I know you said you don't take it lightly doing these things, and I can tell just how grateful you are that you get to do this for somebody. But it's such a personal thing, and we all know, as hunters, our relationship with our retrievers, and to just be able to continue to take that, to take your pup and still do those hunts. And I was with Daryl when we did a hunt, and he had his dog, and we had a full spread of decoys out on this duck hunt, but just off to the side was the one, right? And you couldn't miss it because it looked different. It was off by its side, but looking out into the spread, I don't know, man, it was super cool, and something that I definitely want to do. I want to do with mine. God God forbid when something happens. But I don't know, man. That's you are, like I said, you're not just carving a decoy, and I'm surprised. I shouldn't say surprised. That's the wrong word, but I'm very happy to hear after this call, just how you're making it, not just about carving into a piece of cork, right? There's much, much more to it. And that's so cool, man.
Well,
Very,
especially
very
cool. especially with the urns, it's like it's just memories, it's just memories and memorializing like your best friend, and it's like a friend of mine out of Colorado, Forrest Carpenter, I did a urn rig for him where he wanted 7 decoys made for his dog Lila after Lila passed away. And each decoy he selected, of the 7 decoys, each one was a specific memory he had from a retrieve.
Wow.
And like, so like there was like a hunt in Saskatchewan where they killed like a black duck. And that was a picture he had of Lila with that black duck, and on the keel I had the thing that had like, the Saskatchewan black duck and the date of that retrieve. And each decoy just had a story behind it, and like the rig just like told the story of Lila's career. And I was fortunate enough in January when I went out there to hunt, I was able to meet up with Forrest, and I was actually able to hunt over Lila's rig on the South Platte River. And it was just such an amazing, just full circle. And again, I have goosebumps just thinking about it now. But it's just like it was such an amazing, very personal project, and just being able to see it full circle and then be able to go hunt over it with Forrest. It's incredible,
dude. I'm kind of at a loss for words here, because it is such a special thing. Like, geez, like I really don't know what to say. Like it is so awesome to hear this. And I couldn't imagine being the person that's I guess responsible to put this together, because I think my feelings would just overwhelm me. You know what I mean? Like it, and I know, because I've heard you say it's not something that you take lightly. It's just wow.
And it's like when it comes to like my Instagram and like the advertising of these things, it's like I feel like mildly dirty advertising it, but it's like, but it's such an important thing that like not a lot of people know about, that's like an option. And like I've had like, and again, just how connected and how personal some of this stuff is. Like a couple of the Instagram videos that I've put together about urn decoys, it's like I find myself like tearing up, and it's like it's not even like my dog, but it's just like it's just such strong stories, and there's just so much into it. And anybody that has a retriever understands. It's an unsaid thing. You don't have to. There's no explaining it. We all know.
Yeah. And I think, I think the only people that would say, well, he's capitalizing on someone's loss would be the non-dog hunters, right? Like, I think those would be because they just wouldn't understand how how special it is to be able to take your dog on future hunts, even though he or she has passed on, right? Like that's the thing for me. Like, is it it's kind of a dark thing, I guess, because your best, in my case, my best friend, right, has passed. But for me to be able to carry on taking her with me, and you got to know my dog. Like, my dog's got an attitude, right? So like, I just I'm looking at her right now, and I'm just in the back of my head, I'm just snickering, because today she done bonehead things, and it just made me laugh. You know what I mean? And she's not perfect. She's not, but she's mine, and I trained her and the whole bit, right? So I think that's, for dog owners and retriever owners, they totally get it. They know why you're doing it. It's super special. And I think it's such a cool thing to be able to carry on that hunt with your buddy, right? Cool. Luke, buddy, that's about 60 minutes, just over 60 minutes. And fucking great show, man. Like I can't thank you enough for wanting to come on and just, you know, talk about the things that you're doing and opening up and being that those intimate conversations that you had where you're providing that experience where you come for the 4 days, which is super cool and something that I promise you I'm going to take you up on. But then, you know, the whole what you're doing for other hunters and carvers and stuff like that, it's special, man. And you know, people got to make a living. You got to put food on the table, and you got to provide for your family, because that's what we do. That's part of the gig when you become an adult. And I think it's amazing that you've been able to turn your passion into something that can put food on the table for your family and share, and then sharing it with your dad on top of it. I think it's amazing, dude. I'm jealous. I'm very, very, my dad used to always say this. He was like, if you think I'm jealous, you're right. And and I love that saying. And if you think I'm jealous, you're right. So, dude, I'm going to give you the last word. Plug anything. And if there's something that we missed that you wanted to talk about, well, then we just have to have you come back on the show again some other time. Or if you want to talk about it right now, you can as well.
No,
but
that's
if
okay.
you want to save it, if you
there's
want to
so much
save it
stuff
for
we can
another
talk
time,
about.
you can.
I used to restore wetlands full time. So like we could talk about wetland restoration and all that stuff.
Well, yeah. So like I did know that you were a biologist, right? So and I wanted to pick your brain on that, but the decoys just took over the conversation tonight.
Biology stuff's the boring part.
Well, no, it's cool, and actually it's good because Craig is into that science side of things too, right? And Craig is big giant head, right? Like really smart dude. And it would be really cool when you and him on that I could bounce questions off and hear your thoughts and the whole bit. It would be a lot of fun. So we'll save that for when Craig can come on, and then me and Phil will just sit in the corner like with our dunce hats on and pretend that we know what you guys are talking about. So anyways, buddy, last words to you.
Yep. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. So my personal page is Costilow Decoys, and then Coffee Creek Cork is my supply page. CoffeeCreekCork.com. You can find right now we're selling cork. I've come out with vermiculation combs, so texture combs for doing painting and stuff on decoys. I'm going to start coming out with eyes and carving kits and stuff like that. You can find information about my carving classes there. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, please reach out. It may take me a couple days to get back to you, but I'm more than happy to answer any carving questions, even if you're not giving me $1 for it. I'll answer the best I can, and yeah, it's like helping out.
That's awesome. So what'll happen is once this show goes live, which will be on Monday, so probably around, I think that's the 11th of August, I think, somewhere around there. So the show will go out on the 11th. I'll tag Costilow Decoys, Coffee Creek, Cork. I'll tag all of that on the socials, and I'll make sure that I push everybody to you if they have questions. They'll know exactly how to get in touch with you, buddy.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 236. As always, not experts, never pretend to be experts, just a bunch of friends that love talking anything duck hunting. Surround yourself with good people, big love, and see you next week.